You're staring at a screen, you sent a text maybe 5, 10 minutes ago, and the silence on the other end is just, well, it's already deafening.
Oh, yeah. That is such a heavy feeling.
It really is. Your mind just starts racing. Did you say too much? Was the punctuation, like, too eager? Should you have waited another hour to reply?
Right. You just start spiraling.
Exactly. You can literally feel the tightness in your chest, that familiar knot of anxiety that just pulls you completely out of the present moment and into this endless spiral of second guessing. And I think it's safe to say we have all been there.
We absolutely have.
So I want you to take a moment right now, wherever you are listening to this. Just let your shoulders drop, maybe just a fraction of an inch. Take a slow, deep breath and let it out softly.
Just kind of anchor yourself right here.
Yeah. Because today we are stepping away from the rush, the noise, and that endless, exhausting urgency. We're embarking on a deeply intimate, deep dive into the architecture of romantic connection.
And it is such a beautiful framework we're looking at today.
It really is. We are exploring a beautifully crafted audio guide and journaling framework that's dedicated to something we all crave, but, we often guard ourselves against. We're talking about the profound emotional shift of opening your heart, letting love in without fear, and gently dismantling those massive walls of self-doubt.
It's big work, but it's so worth it.
It is. So whether you are someone who is yearning for an emotional escape or you're just searching for the quiet magic of a deeply rooted connection, you are entirely in the right place.
I have to say, it really is a privilege to slow down and unpack this with you today.
Yeah.
Because the path to true emotional connection, it isn't usually loud.
Right. It's not always fireworks.
Exactly. It doesn't typically look like some grand cinematic climax in the pouring rain. Often it begins really quietly in the very subtle ways we manage our own internal world.
Which is exactly what we're going to get into.
Yes, our focus today is to break down this deeply personal journey, step by step. We are going to explore how you can actually rewire your emotional baseline.
To kind of experience romance more purely, right?
Precisely. We want to understand the underlying psychological mechanisms of vulnerability that actually allow love to take root in the first place.
And, to get to that place where love can actually take root, we have to look honestly at what creates the barren soil in the first place. We have to look at the fear.
The fear is always the biggest roadblock.
It really is. It's that sheer exhausting habit we just talked about, second-guessing every single interaction. We analyze a passing glance at a coffee shop. We completely obsess over the phrasing of a simple sentence.
Analyzing the text message is a big one.
Yes. And the material we are looking at today captures this dynamic so perfectly. It points out that the pursuit of romance often ends up feeling like analyzing a really complex exam rather than, actually feeling a moment.
I love that analogy from the source so much because when we approach connection like a test, we are fundamentally operating from a state of threat.
Like we're in danger.
Exactly. The nervous system, it doesn't necessarily distinguish between the emotional threat of rejection and a physical threat. So when you are agonizing over that text message, your body is literally bracing for impact.
You're just trying to survive the interaction.
Right. You are trying to pass the test, trying to avoid failure, rather than actually trying to connect. And this leads directly to a really pervasive defense mechanism.
The freezing up, right.
Yes. In moments that desperately require vulnerability, like simply looking someone in the eye and expressing how you truly feel, the brain's threat response just kicks in. We freeze. Or, very commonly, we deflect.
Oh, the deflection is so real. Throwing up a shield of sarcasm.
Or self-deprecating humor. We do anything to avoid being emotionally exposed.
We crack a joke to break the tension, and by the time we figure out what we actually genuinely wanted to say, the window of intimacy has just slammed shut.
It's like watching a train leave the station when you're still tying your shoes.
Yeah, that imagery from the source is heartbreaking. It actually makes me think about overthinking a romantic connection like staring so hard at a piece of complex sheet music.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Like you're agonizing over the mathematical duration of every single note on the page. And because of that, you entirely miss the beautiful, sweeping symphony that is actively playing in the room with you.
Wow. Yeah, that's it perfectly.
It's like you're reading the music, but you are completely deaf to the melody.
Because reading the sheet music feels safe. It's analytical.
Yeah.
It's something you can control.
Right. There's a right and wrong answer.
Exactly. But listening to the melody requires you to actually let the music move you, which is inherently vulnerable.
Right.
And I think that brings us to a core definition we really need to establish here from the source.
Let's hear it.
Vulnerability is often completely misunderstood as simply oversharing, but it is specifically defined here as the quality of being open to emotional exposure.
Emotional exposure. That sounds terrifying.
It is. But it is the absolute cornerstone of falling in love. If you are not open to emotional exposure, you simply cannot be truly seen by another person.
And if you can't be seen,
Then you cannot be deeply loved. It's frightening because it removes all your armor, but it is the biological and psychological prerequisite for the deep connection we all desire.
I hear that, but I want to push back on that a little bit, or at least explore the mechanics of it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Because taking this grand, vulnerable leap out of nowhere, it feels genuinely terrifying for most people. I mean, if you've been wearing armor for years, someone telling you to just, be open to emotional exposure feels like being told to jump off a cliff and just hope you figure out how to fly on the way down.
Oh, absolutely. That would send anyone into a panic.
Right. So how do we actually begin to take the armor off without sending our nervous system into a complete meltdown?
Well, the good news is you don't jump off the cliff. Not at all.
Okay, good. That's a relief.
If we look at vulnerability like a muscle that has been, say, in a cast of anxiety for years, you can't just take the cast off and try to run a marathon. You will collapse.
Right, it's atrophied.
Exactly. You need physical therapy. You need very low stakes, gradual rehabilitation. And what's so fascinating about this framework is that this physical therapy doesn't even involve another person at first.
Wait, really? It starts alone?
Yes, it begins safely, entirely in solitude. The source suggests we start by romancing the mundane. We literally transform our daily, ordinary routines into a personal, private sanctuary.
So we are essentially practicing the feeling of romance when there's zero risk of rejection?
That is exactly it, because we are so conditioned by culture to think romance requires another person to, initiate some grand gesture.
The boombox outside the window.
Right. But the reality of retraining your emotional baseline starts with something as small as the warmth of a morning coffee held in both hands.
Just really feeling the warmth.
Yes. It's taking a deliberate moment to actually listen to the sound of rain against the window pane, feeling these sort of the melancholy and the beauty of it instead of just instantly rushing to grab your umbrella so you aren't late.
Wow, so you're shifting your baseline state from routine efficiency to, deliberate poetry.
Deliberate poetry, I love that phrasing. You are gently teaching your nervous system that it is safe to feel soft.
Shifting from routine to poetry. It sounds beautiful, but let's talk about the practical application of this, especially when it comes to tip 2 from the guide, the way we talk to ourselves.
The self-talk is crucial.
Because this framework explores the transformative power of narrating your own day with a touch of cinematic warmth.
Yes, the cooking dinner example.
Exactly. The source gives this example of cooking dinner. Instead of just chopping vegetables on autopilot, stressing about an email you forgot to send, you intentionally shift the internal narrative. You think to yourself, now I light the candle. Now the kitchen fills with the scent of rosemary.
You're intentionally manufacturing a calm, open state.
Right. But I have to ask, doesn't it feel deeply unnatural at first? To narrate your own life like you're the star of some moody indie romance movie, isn't there a risk of just feeling like you're playing pretend?
Oh, it absolutely feels unnatural at first, and honestly, it's supposed to.
It is.
Yes, because your default state right now is defensive efficiency. When you start narrating your life with that cinematic warmth, you're going to feel a wave of awkwardness.
Yeah, I would definitely feel a little silly.
But doing this in the absolute privacy of your own kitchen is the entire point. It completely removes the external threat of judgment. There is no one there to critique you or roll their eyes or reject you.
You're totally safe?
Exactly. You are building a safe space inside your own mind first. And psychologically, this taps into a really vital concept from the source: creating a second nature.
Meaning a habit or a response that becomes so automatic through practice that you don't even have to consciously trigger it anymore.
Precisely. Right now, your second nature, your automatic knee-jerk response to the world, might be anxiety or self-doubt or rushing.
Guilty as charged.
We all are. But by practicing this cinematic warmth in the safety of your kitchen, intentionally breathing in the scent of rosemary, and allowing yourself to just feel peaceful, you are forging brand new neural pathways.
You're retraining the brain.
You are literally retraining your brain's chemical response to the present moment. Eventually, seeing the poetry in the world and feeling safe enough to appreciate it, that becomes your new second nature. It becomes the default lens through which you naturally view the world.
So you're building the emotional muscle in private, so it's strong enough to support you when someone else eventually enters the room.
That's beautifully put, yes.
But let's look at the friction here, because you can light all the candles you want in the kitchen, but if your environment is constantly throwing you back into a state of high alert, that internal shift is going to be incredibly fragile.
Oh, the environment plays a massive, massive role. You cannot sustain a soft, open heart if your physical and digital surroundings are constantly triggering your fight or flight response.
Which brings us to tip 3.
Right. We spend an enormous portion of our lives interacting with screens, and those interactions are often actively designed to be jarring. They demand immediate panicked attention.
Yeah, the concept of creating a mini immersion environment, which basically means looking really critically at the digital space we occupy every day.
It's about taking back control of your senses.
Like changing a jarring, aggressive phone alarm to a gentle chime, or setting a serene wallpaper on your phone, curating a playlist of soft acoustic melodies to play quietly while you work.
Small changes, but profound impacts.
Right, because if you think about it chemically, you just can't cultivate a romantic, vulnerable state of mind if your phone is blaring a harsh siren at you every single time you get a calendar reminder.
No, you can't. Your amygdala is going to hijack your brain, flood your system with cortisol, and immediately shut down any capacity you had for emotional openness.
That cortisol spike literally kills the biological environment where romance thrives.
That's exactly what happens. By curating your digital and physical space, the gentle chimes, the acoustic music, you are actively managing your neurochemistry.
It's almost like you're playing defense for your peace of mind.
You are. You are intentionally surrounding yourself with cues of safety, which keeps your mind in a receptive, open state, even if you're right in the middle of a busy workday.
That makes a lot of sense.
And once your environment supports that baseline of peace, then you finally have the emotional bandwidth to engage in tip 4, which is a much deeper practice: mental rehearsal and romantic visualization.
This is a fascinating part of the guide. This is where the framework asks us to really use our imagination actively. It suggests that, when you're walking in a quiet park or sitting in a cozy, sunlit cafe, you should take a deliberate moment to vividly imagine the warmth of sharing that exact experience with someone special.
Just letting yourself feel the potential of it.
Yeah, replaying sweet memories or picturing future conversations where you feel entirely and completely understood by another human being. But I do stumble on this a bit, I have to admit.
Oh, how so?
Well, is there a danger that this kind of mental rehearsal just becomes escapism? Like, if we spend all our time in a cafe imagining a perfectly curated, idealized partner who always says the exact right thing, aren't we just setting ourselves up for huge disappointment when we're finally faced with a real, unpredictable human being who is, messy and has bad days?
That is such a valid concern. It is a very fine line to walk, and the distinction lies entirely in the intention and the focus of the exercise.
Okay, unpack that for me.
So escapism is about fleeing reality. Because you find your present moment intolerable or frightening, you focus on an idealized person to basically rescue you from your life.
Right, waiting for a savior.
Exactly. Mental rehearsal, in the context of this framework, is not about scripting a fictional partner's exact words or physical appearance. It is entirely about practicing your own internal feeling of being safe, seen, and understood.
Oh, so it's about you, not them.
Yes, you are simply reminding your own body what it feels like to trust.
So you aren't imagining the perfect person, you are practicing the feeling of your own walls being down.
Exactly. And this connects directly to the psychological practice of mindful presence, which the source emphasizes heavily.
Presence.
Yes, mindful presence is defined as fully experiencing the beauty of the present moment without distraction, judgment, or doubt. When you sit in that cafe and visualize connection, you aren't actually leaving the present moment to live in a fantasy.
You're still tasting the coffee, feeling the sun.
Right. You are drawing the emotional warmth of a future possibility into your present physical reality. You are chemically proving to your own body that your heart is still capable of generating that warmth.
You are proving to yourself that the capacity for love hasn't withered away, that the muscle still works.
Yes, it's incredibly empowering.
That is deeply moving. But there is a hurdle here. Progress with this kind of internal work is almost never linear, right?
Never. We always take a few steps back.
Yeah, all these practices, focusing on the sensory details of a morning coffee, shifting our self-talk, managing our digital environment, visualizing connection, they generate profound internal growth. But human memory is notoriously flawed, especially when we get hurt.
Oh, absolutely.
When we experience a setback or someone lets us down, we tend to immediately forget all that beautiful growth we just did.
We do. When we feel threatened or rejected, the brain prioritizes the memory of the pain over the memory of the peace. It's a survival mechanism. We need a way to make the invisible growth tangible.
You need proof.
We need empirical evidence of our own softening. And that is why tip 5, documenting the journey, specifically through journaling, is so incredibly vital.
Writing it down physically?
Yes, it isn't just about keeping a diary of what happened during your day.
Mhm.
It's about tracking the very subtle shifts in your thoughts, your dreams, and your reflections on love.
There is something undeniably grounding about the physical act of writing. Like putting pen to paper forces the brain to slow down and process emotion differently than typing or just, thinking does.
Right. It creates a completely different neural engagement.
Right. And over time, as you document these small shifts, like how you actually noticed the rain today instead of ignoring it, or how you felt a moment of genuine peace in the cafe, you create a physical, tangible history of your emotional journey.
A history that you can hold in your hands.
Yeah. I think about it like an emotional anchor. Because there will absolutely be days when someone is careless with your feelings, and your immediate instinct will be to frantically rebuild those walls of self-doubt and cynicism.
The instinct to rebuild the armor is incredibly strong. It's safe in there.
It is.
But in those moments of panic, you can physically hold that journal in your hands. You can flip back through the pages and read your own handwriting from 3 weeks ago. You have undeniable proof, generated by you, that your heart is capable of being soft and that the softness was real.
It reminds you of who you've become.
Exactly. It holds you steady when the old fears try to pull you back into isolation.
It prevents the setback from becoming a permanent retreat.
Yes, beautifully said. And if we look at the ultimate destination of all these careful, deliberate practices we've discussed today, it all funnels into one vital goal, according to the source: emotional intimacy.
The holy grail of all this work.
It really is. The source defines true emotional intimacy as a deep, abiding sense of closeness and trust, where two souls genuinely see and understand the reality of each other.
Not the idealized version, the reality.
The reality, yes. But the hard truth of this framework is that you cannot expect another soul to see and understand you if you have not first taken the time to see, understand, and feel safe with yourself.
So what does this actually mean for you, listening right now? It means that opening your heart doesn't require you to suddenly jump out of a plane without a parachute.
No grand leaps required.
Right. It doesn't demand sudden, terrifying leaps of vulnerability with strangers before you are truly ready.
It asks for something much quieter and perhaps much braver. It requires you to build a romantic sanctuary inside your own life, step by small step.
Beginning right where you are.
Yes. It starts with the way you hold your morning coffee. It continues with acoustic playlists that soothe your nervous system, kind and mindful self-talk while you cook dinner, and gentle moments of visualization in a sunlit room.
It's an entire lifestyle shift.
It is. Expanding your emotional vocabulary is a practice of choosing poetry over routine and deliberately choosing vulnerability over your armor, first and foremost with yourself.
We spend so much time curating this romantic mindset to prepare our hearts for a future partner. We do all this heavy lifting, we clear the emotional space, we light the candles, we rewire our nervous systems, all in anticipation of someone eventually walking through the door to share it with us.
We treat it like preparation.
Exactly. But I want to leave you with a thought that lingers just a bit past the edges of the framework we explored today. What if the true magic of this entire process isn't just preparation?
Oh, I love this question.
What if, by doing all of this, we end up treating ourselves as our own greatest romance? How might falling in love with your own daily life, tending to your own heart with such deliberate, unapologetic care, permanently change the way you move through the world, even before anyone else ever enters the picture?
That is a deeply powerful question to carry forward. It really changes the goal from waiting for love to simply living in it. Thank you for sharing this quiet space with us today.
Please stay gentle with yourselves. Let the coffee warm your hands. Let the music soften your thoughts, and keep your hearts open until our next deep dive. Take care.